Hello, Geometry Honor students. So we're going to be finishing up 6.8 notes today. As we've talked about before, it's very important for us to be able to solve coordinate plane geometry problems with shapes, with variables as vertices, because it allows us to calculate the dimensions of shapes given any inputs, okay? So we're going to scroll all the way down until we get to example 4. Now this is going to be a two-part video. If I'm going too fast at all, what you do is you're going to pause, rewind, go at your own pace. But this is going to be a two-part video because we're going to do example 4 here and example 4 here, those two example 4s in the first video. And in the second video, we're going to do example 5, which is a little bit longer of a problem, okay? So we're going to go ahead and get started. We're already given some information about this trapezoid. So let me go ahead and erase these two things. We're told that the two diagonals are congruent. Okay, that's a big clue. We're told it's a trapezoid. And something that's not mentioned but is assumed in the problem. I didn't write it down for you guys, but this is bisecting the two bases, the y-axis is, okay? So this is bisected, okay? Now, if we know that the two diagonals are congruent and it is a trapezoid, well, guess what? That is the definition of an isosceles trapezoid, okay? It has congruent diagonals. So we know it's isosceles, all right? Second step, we need to find the missing values of the vertices, okay? Because it's an isosceles trapezoid, y-axis is bisecting each side as demonstrated here. This makes it pretty intuitive on how we find the missing values, okay? So let's start with P. Okay, with point P, we know that it is on the x-axis, okay? So what does that mean? It means that the y value is 0, okay? The y value is 0. And that makes sense because if it's a straight horizontal line, it needs to match up with that y value, and it does, okay? That's the first step, and it's the easiest step, okay? Now, let's go up here. Let's get the easy value that's up here. So the y value of A is C. Well, if this is a straight horizontal line and these are parallel bases, then this also needs to be C because it's in the same y-axis plane as the other point. R and A are directly across from each other, so they're both at point C, okay? That's the easy part, okay? Not much harder is figuring out the other aspects, the other coordinates of this trapezoid. So we know this distance is A, okay? And because it is equidistant on both sides, we know this distance is also A. But it's going in the negative direction. So it is negative A, okay? So if you're ever confused about a problem, input a number. So if we had this distance as not A, but 7, then obviously the same distance going this way would be negative 7. That's only intuitive that that would be the case, okay? But that's not the case. We're using variables, so let's stick with variables. Okay, next up, we know that this distance right here is negative B. So if we're going negative B in that direction, then obviously to go in this direction, and it being equidistant, then we know this is also positive B. So now we have our 4 vertices labeled, okay?